Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Women Today.
You are listening to the Women Today podcast. This is our little chance to get in anything that we didn't have time to talk about on the show today. And we have been joined by Robin Perry and Amy Metcalf from the Foot Health Clinic. And there was quite a lot we didn't actually get to today, I think, wasn't there? Because, there's so much to talk about with regards to both of your work, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Amy, one of the things that we didn't really get to talk about on the show is something that can cause some quite serious problems for people, and it's the condition of diabetes, which can have a really quite serious effect on limbs, can't it?
It is. For people who have diabetes, they are, as a population, much more at risk of having foot problems that then can go on to lead to amputation. So the way that we would advocate preventing this really is to do early interventions. So what we're trying to do is pick people up when they've got good healthy feet and give them all the advice and information that they need so that they don't ever begin to develop the problems with the circulation and the problems with neuropathy that can go on to be so life-changing, really. And the way that we do this is through risk stratification. So we see people who come into us and we check the circulation and we check the neurological status of the foot. And in doing that, we're able to give them either a low risk, medium risk or high risk, which that translates directly to how likely they are to have a problem with the skin integrity of the feet. And from that, we can then tailor a treatment plan very specifically for each individual. So we can then give them the advice that they need to change their lifestyle practices to avoid any problems in the future.
Because at the end of the day, although it does sound quite scary, and I'm not trying to take away from anyone who has this condition, it is manageable at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is, and it's about doing the right things at the right time. So for some of those problems, it might be early lifestyle advice. So for very simple things like if somebody was to get a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes and they were a smoker, then the biggest thing they can do to change their health outcomes is to give up smoking. So it's always a difficult subject, but you can start to help people think about how that is going to impact on them with their diabetes. So things like that really are the starting point.
And this is something, Robin, that you're talking about, introducing something at the Foot Health Clinic that will help with this.
So we've actually been running Pod Plan, which is a maintenance plan. I mean, it's very equivalent to, let's say, practice plan in dentistry, where the goal is really about maintenance rather than intervening at a stage where it's reactive and people have got problems. We're really trying to get people to look after their feet better. And as such, we run Pod Plan, which is a regular contribution and an appointment system. So the client, the patient, would go through either risk stratification or it would just be a general assessment, and the podiatrist would then be able to say, okay, well, you need to be seen every 4 weeks or every 7 weeks. Now, because we're doing that regularly, the cost to the patient is reduced, so it's something like £6 per treatment less to do that, and there's a whole load of other benefits and discounts that you get off lots of other treatments that we offer. But in the main, our goal is really to try and make sure that people aren't having far bigger interventions than they actually need to have, because we're targeting it at an earlier stage.
And I think perhaps we don't put enough importance on our foot health, I think, maybe, because if you do have foot problems, whether it is through a condition like diabetes or whether it is through more common things like calluses, or whether you have a structural complaint like we were talking about earlier, it can affect your life so much, can't it? We were talking about independence, mobility. It has a huge knock-on effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, pain, if you have chronic pain, so if you have pain that is there for anything more than a short period, and if you don't know when that pain isn't going to be there, that can have a huge impact even on mental health, over a long period of time. And again, we were talking earlier about you have to think about healing time. So for somebody who is young, fit and healthy, the speed at which they will get over an injury will be much quicker than for somebody who is older, who might have some underlying conditions. So the time that they're going to be less mobile is greater, and that has an effect on everything from from the amount of exercise you're able to do, even going out doing your shopping, going out socializing. So it can be quite isolating, having a condition that stops you being able to walk about and do the things that you need to do in your daily life.
And I think we've definitely seen an increase in the number of people who that chronic pain is affecting them, psychologically and leading to depression. And that then has to form part of their management plan. So trying to get in and manage that earlier before they even get to that stage is critical to their entire life.
And what are some of the problems that you find affect the ageing population of the island more than others? What are the sort of common complaints?
I mean, as we age, there are sort of wear and tear on the joints, and people's foot structure does change, and so your likelihood of then developing corns and calluses does increase with age. And a corn, although it's quite a simple thing in practice to resolve in a clinic, it can be an incredibly painful thing. So it can be change the way somebody walks. So if you've got a corn and you're walking in a different way so that you're not putting pressure on it, so that you're not feeling pain, you are then actually increasing the stresses and strains on other joints of your body. So that's when people can develop knee pain or hip pain and things like that. So timely treatment of these sorts of conditions by a professional, it can be hugely beneficial to people. It's like a bit of a light bulb moment that somebody can come in and they kind of be reporting to me quite considerable pain, and then after they've had a treatment, you have enabled that person to walk out hopefully pain-free.
It seems like such a simple thing, and yet it can, like you say, have such huge knock-on effect to affect so much of your life, can't it? And especially families and things. If you're trying to look after kids and everything, and you've got issues with that as well, I'm sure it can affect everything.
And of course, incorrect treatment of something like a corn. So if somebody's using strong acids on their feet and they've got other risk factors, that can actually lead to quite nasty infections. It can lead to ulceration, can lead to problems. So it's getting the right advice, really, to be doing the right thing.
So when you say strong acids, do you mean sort of when you buy something off the shelf to help with?
A lot of people use corn pads, and again, for most people, using a corn pad carries a small risk if you leave it on or you use it inappropriately of damage to the tissues. But if you have a poor blood supply to your foot and you put an acid onto an area there's not a lot of soft tissue between the skin and a bone in a toe, you can very quickly cause a degree of infection, which could then travel into the bone, could cause people, again, prolonged problems over a long period of time.
It wouldn't be unusual. I mean, certainly most podiatrists will be able to recount some patient or some client who has put something like a corn plaster on, and they end up having a toe removed because the infection is spread to such an extent. So although we mention them in sort of passing, they are genuine risks.
But you can buy so much now from just the high street chemist, can't you? You can even get sort of scalpels and things to be able to remove hard skin. That must be, you must really despair about things like that.
It's where it's used inappropriately. So again, I wouldn't discourage everybody from using these products, and for some people there is obviously some use for them, but it's making sure that it's not going to cause you the problems that we do see. And as I say, we see that other side of it. We see the person that has used a corn plaster on a diabetic. I mean, I've seen people that have ended up with a below knee amputation from using a corn plaster on their foot. So even a shoe. So if somebody has a shoe that is ill-fitting and is putting pressure on a particular area, the tissues can become compromised, so that you can get ulceration on the bony joints around the foot, and that can lead to, for some people, a below knee amputation. So if you're looking at risks in the diabetic foot, even the footwear that you put on your foot, it can be a potential problem.
So does that mean that we should all go for, or at least certainly diabetics should be going for sort of regular foot sizings to make sure they do have the right sort of...
It's about getting the right advice for you. So we try, when people come in, to give them advice at the right stage of where they need to be. So for somebody who hasn't got any impaired circulation and they've got good feeling in their feet, then there really aren't huge limitations to what they need to be doing. But as things change, or if things change, then, you know, footwear advice is certainly something that we'd be able to give, and foot care advice really, and what they should be doing for themselves and what they should be coming and having professionally. There is a real risk there if people are not aware of the risk they're putting themselves under.
And it's not even just that. We've seen people who, you know, they've got ulcered toes because they decided that their toenails are a bit too long. Their eyesight's poor because maybe they're diabetic, and they're trying to cut their toenails with it. They can't feel their feet because of their diabetes. They can't see their feet because of their diabetes, and they're cutting their toenails, and, you know, they're just mangling the end of their toes. So those things again are, you know, if people are seen and they're given the right advice at an early stage, those things don't even happen.
Oh my word. Okay, so how do people then, just to remind us if they miss the show, how do they get in contact with you to book these crucial appointments?
Well, we've got several ways of contact. So you can phone or email us. There's a Health Clinic app that you can book on, or you can book online. But if you're not sure about who you need to see or what you need to be seeing them for, then if you give us a call, we'll be happy to try and give you the best advice.
Excellent. I feel like I need to let you go back now so you can do that video for us, Robin, of
the balloons?
The gloves. Yeah.
Do you want some magic tricks as well? I can.
Of course we do.
I can source some elastic bands and you know, give you some elastic band tricks.
Love that. Magic tricks and balloon animals from examination gloves. This is going to be fun, and you're going to go and do some baking for us now, aren't you, Amy? Yeah, we expect cake by next week.
My baking skills are very, very, very limited.
Thanks so much for being with us. It's been lovely to have you both.
Thank you.
Women Today. Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin, or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.